So good day everyone. I am Jeneline A. Bangkil, a third year student at Mindanao State University Boog campus with the degree of BSA Agronomy. So this morning I will discuss about agricultural economics and marketing. So, economics. So, when we talk about economics, of course, it is the study of how society uses its limited resources. And also, economic, it is a social science that deals with the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. So, next is the So there are a number of definitions of economics. For economists, it is a science of choice. For business, so for the economist, according to them, that economics, it is the study of how human beings satisfy their material needs and wants from the resources available. Then, economics, it is a science of choice. It just because ang science, it explains the choices we make and how those choices change as we cope with the scarcity. So, for the business, ang economics, it is the study of the principles and policies which nag-determine the volume of output of goods and services. Also, the level of employment and income and the manner in which a price system functions and income is distributed. So, next is the three elements of economics perspectives are scarcity. So, kung iyang tag scarcity, of course, it is the condition in which ang mga resources available are insufficient to satisfy human wants. So, the basic concept related to society are choice, trade-off, opportunity cost, and the last one is rational behavior. So when we talk about choice, so so when we talk about choice, of course, atong uh, resources is limited, so therefore we as a consumer make choices among several goods and services available because of limited resources. So ang business choose between the different combinations of input to produce a certain product. So next is the trade-off. So when you talk about trade-off, it is a choice between alternative uses for a given quantity of resources. So using resources for one purpose means that the same resources cannot be used for another purpose. So in the other words, ang trade-off, it is something we give up to get something else. So next is the opportunity cost. So when we talk about opportunity cost, it is the real economic cost of a good or services produced or measured by the value of the sacrifice alternative. So next is the rational behavior. So, when you talk about rational behavior, ang economics is grounded on the assumption of rational self-interest. So, meaning as an individual, we make rational decision to achieve the greatest satisfaction or the maximum fulfillment of their goals. So, next is the marginalism. So when we talk about marginalism, so ang economics choices are made based on the additional benefit or additional cost that will be incurred in making a particular decision. So therefore, ang economics is possible consequences of the alternative choices are analyzed and weighed in the basis of added benefits and cost. So, next is the foundation of economics. So, there are two facts dominates our lives. First is we have limited resources, and the second one is we have unlimited ones. And unfortunately, we have limited resources. Next is the two facts dominate our lives. So, mao to akong giingon kagay na. Next is the factors of production, scarce resources. So, factors of production are referred to as the resources used in the production of goods and services. They are classified as property, resources, and human resources. So, land, capital or investment, and labor, and last is the entrepreneurial. So when we talk about land, it is refers to all natural resources, all free gift of nature, which are usable in the productive process. And in land, it includes deserts, fertile lands, forests, and etc. Next is the capital or investment. So, when we talk about capital or investment, it is refers to all manufactured aids to production. Ang capital or investment, it includes the tools, equipments, machinery, factories, storage area, transport, and etc. Next is the labor. So when we talk about labor, of course, it refers to all man's physical and mental talents usable in the production. Next is the entrepreneurial ability or entrepreneurship. So it is the source used to combine the first three resources. So these resources takes the initiative or of innovating product and bear risk. Next is the wants and needs. So when we talk about wants, of course, it is our desires as a consumers to obtain and use various goods and services which give us pleasure or satisfaction. Then when we talk about needs, of course, needs are the basic necessities for survival, like for example, food, water, and shelter. Next is the so economics. So at what's said as sa akong ingon kagaay na economics, it is the study of how society uses its limited resources, and also it deals with the production, distribution of goods and services. So next is the microeconomic versus macroeconomic. So when we talk about microeconomics, so So when we talk about microeconomic, of course, it is the study of the activity in the individual market. And also, microeconomics, nag-studies po din siya sa decisions of individual people and businesses, and also the interaction of those decisions to the market. And also, ang microeconomics it is seeks to explain the prices of individual goods and services. Then, whereas ang microeconomics, it is the study of the economy as a whole or with the basic subdivisions or aggregates such as government, household, and business sector. And also, ang microeconomics, it seeks to explain average prices, total output, GNP, GDP, total employment, total income, effects of taxes, government spending, and effects of money, and the interest rates and government budget deficit. So, next is the agricultural economics. So, when we talk about agricultural economic, it is applied science primarily na nag-concern with the solution of economic problems in agriculture. And also, ang agricultural economics, nag-concern po niya siya, it also concerned with the identification, description, and classification of economic problems in agriculture in order to solve them, such as sa mga problem, for example, problems sa agricultural economics that it includes financing, production, and marketing. Next is the positive economics versus normative economics. So, when we talk about positive economics, it deals with the economy is actually like. And also, ang positive economics, nag-focus na rin siya sa mga facts and avoid value judgment. Because ang positive economics, it try to establish specific statement about economic behavior. And also, ang positive economics, it concern with what is then, whereas ang normative economics, it deals with the value judgment about what the economy should be like or what a particular policy or policy action should be like or should be recommended. And also ang normative economics, it often called the policy economics because ang normative economics, it embodies subjective feelings about what ought to be. So next is the economic goals. So common goals, common economic goals, and a number of economic goals or values which are widely do not universally as accepted in our society include full employment, price stability, economic freedom, economic security, equitable distribution of income, economic efficiency, balance of trade. So mao to ang mao to ang number of economic goals or values which are widely do not universally accepted in our society. So next is the economic ideologies of nations. So basic economic problems, economic systems. So when we talk about basic economic problems, it is the fundamental economic problem facing all society, and it is the scarcity. So and also and it is a condition resulted society. When we talk about scarcity, it is the condition that resulted in our society not having enough resources to produce of all things people would like to have. Because, in fact, as alam naman natin na we live in a world with scarce resources. So, we have, since since our resources is scarce, so as an individual, we have to make choices. So Then next is the economic system. So when we talk about economic system, so due to the scarcity problems, so therefore all nations and society must allocate their resources in order to meet their needs. So with this, with this economic system, so ang nation must adopt an economic system, and because an economic system mo siya ang way in which a country manage the production and distribution of goods and services. Next is for this economic system to work, the following factors should be considered: private property, freedom of enterprise, freedom of choice, self-interest, competition, market and prices, and limited uh, government. So, when we talk about private private property, it is refers to exclusive right of a person to buy, keep, unuse, and sell, or give away things of value. So, next is the freedom of enterprise. So, it means that private business are free to obtain economic resources. Next is the freedom of choice. So, when we talk about freedom of choice, it means that ang owners ani can employ or dispose of their property and money as they see fit. And also, ang freedom of choice, it also means that ang mga workers are free to enter any lines of work which they are qualified. Next is self-interest. So, self-interest, each economic unit attempts to get what is best for itself. Next is the competition and market and prices. So when we talk about market and prices, it means that markets serve as coordinating mechanism and prices serve as guideposts on which resources resource owners, entrepreneurs, and consumers make and revise their free choices as they pursue self-interest. So, when we talk about limited government, it is described a political system whereby the central government's rule and authority is limited in certain respect, which is an important component of political, social, and economic freedom. Next is command economy and command economy or communism. So, in this system, ang economic decision are made by the government. So, walay person na may independently decide to open or run a business. So, kani nga system is also known as socialist, authoritarian, or centralized economy. So, next is the socialism. So, mayroon tag socialism. In this system, ang government is owned and operates many of the nation's major industries such as banks, airlines, railroads, and power plants, but allows individual to own other business including stores, farms, and factories. Next, so mao to siya. Next is the supply and demand. So, in short, when we talk about supply, it is described the total amount of a specific good or service that is available to consumers. So, whereas ang demand, it refers the quantity of a good that consumers are willing and able to purchase at various prices during a given period of time. Next is the demand curve. So, kung iyon tag demand curve, it is a graph that showing how demand for the commodity or service varies with changes in its prices. Next is the market demand. So when we talk about market demand, it is refers the total quantity demanded across all consumers in a market for a given good. Next is the quantity demanded. So when we talk about quantity demanded, so uh, it is refers of a good or service, that is the amount of good or service that consumers plan to buy during a specific period of time. So next is the law of demand. So when we talk about the law of demand states that as a price falls, then the corresponding quantity demanded rises, or alternatively, then as price increases, then the corresponding quantity demanded falls, other things ceteris paribus. So in other words, ang law of demand, there is an inverse relationship between prices and quantity demanded. Next is the supply and supply then versus quantity supply din. Kung yung tag supply, it is the fundamental economic that describes the total amount of a specific good or service that is available to the consumers. So when we talk about quantity supplied, it describes the number of goods or services that suppliers will produce and sell at a given market price. So next is the ang kaning quantity supplied, uh, ang quantity supplied nag-differs po ni siya from the actual amount of supply, as price changes influence how much supply producers actually put on the market. Next is the market supply. So when we talk about market supply, it is refers the total amount of an item producers are willing and able to sell at the different prices over a given period of time. Next is the law of supply. So law of supply. So when with the law of supply states that as a price falls, then the corresponding quantity supplied is decreases, or alternatively, then as the price increases, of course the corresponding quantity supplied also increases, other things ceteris paribus. So therefore ang law of supply, there is a direct relationship between prices and quantity supplied. Then supply, next is the supply curve. So when we talk about supply curve, it is in economic graphic representation of the relationship between product price and quantity of product that a seller is willing and able to supply. So next is the equilibrium. So market equilibrium, price and quantity. So when we talk about market equilibrium, price and quantity, it is determined by the interaction of supply and demand. Then market equilibrium quantity, it is refers to the quantity where ang quantity supplied and quantity demanded are being equal. Then ang market equilibrium price, it refers to the price where quantity demanded and quantity ang market equilibrium price, it is refers to the price where quantity supplied o ang quantity demanded are equal, and it is the price that clears to the market. Next is the elasticity. So when we talk about elasticity, it is used to quantify the response in one variable when another variable changes. Then price elasticity of demand. So price elasticity of demand, uh, the ratio of the percentage change in quantity demanded of the product that consumers will buy in response to a percentage change in price along a given demand curve. And also, it measures the responsiveness of the quantity demanded of a good to a change and in its price, all other factors, ceteris paribus. Next is price elasticity of supply. So meaning, ang price elasticity of supply, meaning ang ratio of the percentage change in the quantity supplied of the product that producers are willing to sell in response to a percentage change in price along a given supply curve. Next is the income elasticity of demand. So, ang ratio of the percentage change in the quantity demanded of a product that consumers will buy in response to a percentage change in income. Next is the cross price elasticity. So, ang ratio ani of the percentage is mo change siya in quantity demanded of the product that consumers will buy in response to a percentage change in other goods. Ne- next is the agricultural marketing. So when we talk about agricultural marketing, it is covers the services. And these services, it involve in moving an agricultural product from the farm to the consumer. So these services involve the planning, organizing, directing, and handling of agricultural produce in such a way as to satisfy farmers. Next is the marketing. So, when we talk about marketing, of course, it is an organizational function and a set of processes for creating, communicating, and delivering value to consumers and for managing customer relationship in a ways that benefit the organization and its stakeholders. Then, next is the four utilities of marketing. The form utility, place utility, time utility, and the last one is the position utility. So, when we talk about form utility, it allows the consumers to buy the product in a desired form. Then place utility, it allows the consumers to buy the product at a place they want. And also time utility, it allows the consumers to buy the product at the time they want. Then the position utility, it allows the consumers to gain ownership of the product so that they can legally use it. So next is the problem areas of agricultural marketing. So here are the problem areas of agricultural marketing. First is the characteristic of the products, number of producers, characteristics of consumers, reflecting the demand of consumers, the need to increase marketing efficiency, and the last one is the need to increase marketing efficiency. Next is the market. So when you talk about market, of course, it is a place where buyers and sellers exchange their goods and services. In the other hand, market, it refers a group of buyers and sellers with facilities for trading with each other. And also, ang market, it is a place where buyers and sellers meet to exchange goods or services. Next is the components of agricultural marketing. Uh, Producer subsystem, channel subsystem, flow subsystem, functional subsystem, and consumer subsystem, and environmental subsystem. Ang channel subsystem sa ang actor necessary or enable. Then ang flow subsystem, it facilitates product, financial, and information flows. Then ang functional subsystem, mani ang marketing functions such as transportation, storage, assembling, and dispersion, and etc. Ang consumer subsystem, mani ang mga final repository. Next is the approaches to the study of agricultural marketing. Next is the commodity approach, or also known as the product-oriented. So, when we talk about commodity approach, it focuses on a single commodity. It focuses on a single commodity from the time it leaves from farm until it loses its identity. And also, ang commodity approach, it covers the characteristics of the product, the market demand and supply situation at the domestic and international level, and also the behavior of the consumers in relation of a specific product and prices, either at the farm or wholesaler or retail level. Then ang substitution approach, it studies the various agencies and businesses structure involved in the marketing process. And also, ang institutional approach, it is also consider the nature and character of the various middlemen and related agencies, and also the arrangement and organization of the marketing machinery. Next is the functional approach. So when we talk about functional approach, it is classifying the activities in the marketing process into function. Ang functional approach, it also attempts to answer what is the question, what does what. Then next is the middleman. So next is the middleman. So, when we talk about middlemen, those individual or business concerned that specialize in performing the various marketing functions involved in the purchase and sale of goods as they are moved from producer to consumer. So, classification of middleman is merchant, middlemen. So, when we talk about merchant, middlemen, mani ang mga contact buyer, grain miller, wholesalers, and retailers. Then mga agent middlemen, mani ang commission agent or broker. Then speculative middlemen, mani also known as traders, scalpers, or spreaders. And ang next and the last one is the next is the processors. Processors, it is the first to alter the raw agricultural commodity, and manufacturers reach the level of preservation, convenience, and quality. And the last one is the facilitative organization. Next is the marketing function. Marketing function is a major specialized activity perform in accomplishing into marketing process. Functions are classified as follows. Ang exchange functions. So when talk about exchange functions, these are the activities involved in the transfer of the title of goods. Then next is the buying. Buying activities is at underneath siya sa exchange function. So buying activities and selling activities. So when we talk about buying activities, it is seeking out the resources of supply, assembling of products and activities associated with the purchase. Then ang selling activities, it is covers all the various activities that are sometimes called merchandising. Next is the physical function. So physical function, so when we talk about physical function, these are the activities that involve handling, movements, and physical change of the actual activity itself. Then these physical functions are involved in solving the problems in what and where in marketing. So under some physical functions is storage activities, transportation activities, process, and the last one is the processing activities. So when we talk about storage activities, it is primarily concerned with the with making a goods available at the desired time. Then ang transportation activities, this is primarily concerned with making goods available at the proper place and the adequate performance of alternative route and types of transaction cost, transportation cost. This is the processing activities. These processing activities, it includes all essential manufacturing activities that change the basic form of the product. So next is the facilitating function. So when we talk about facilitating function, it makes possible the smooth performance of exchange and physical functions. So under sa physical function, it is the standardization function, financing function, risk bearing function, market intelligence function, market research, and the last one is demand creation. So when you talk about standardization function, it is the establishment. When you talk about standardization function, it is establishment and maintenance of uniform measurements of both quality and the quantity. Next is the financing function. So when you talk about financing function, it is the advancing of money to carry on the various aspects of the marketing. Then risk bearing function, it is the acceptance of the possibility of loss in the marketing of the products. Next is the market intelligence function. It is the job of collecting, interpreting, and disseminating the large variety of data which are necessary to smooth operation of the marketing process. Next is the market research. So when you talk about market research, it is undertaken to evaluate the possible alternative marketing channels that may be used in the different ways of performing other functions and the market potentials for new products. Then next is the market demand creation. The market demand creation, it is usually achieved through effective advertising of the product and other promotional devices using either the media or the house-to-house campaign. Next is the market structure. So conduct performance approach. So this market structure, it refers to how a market is organized with a particular emphasis on the characteristic that determine the relationship among the various sellers in the market, among the various buyers, and between the various buyers and sellers in the market. So therefore, ang market structure is refers ni siya on how a market is organized. Next is the behavioral approach. So mayroon tag behavioral approach. So when we talk about behavioral approach, either a particular marketing firm or the organization or firm can be viewed as a system of behavior. So therefore, each is composed of people who are making decision in an attempt to solve particular problem. So if these problems and their behavioral system can be classified, a greater understanding of changes that might be forthcoming can be obtained. So kung iyong taog market conduct, it is the way firms adjust the markets in which they are engaged as buyers or sellers. Then behavior or pattern can be firm exhibit in the market. Then ang market performance, talk about market performance, it is the appraisal of how much the economic resources of the industry's market behavior and conduct deviates from the best possible contribution it can make to achieve the relevant socio-economic goals. Next is the mato ang market conduct o market performance. Then marketing margins. So when talk about marketing margin, it is refers to the difference between prices at different levels of the marketing systems. And also the kaning marketing margins, it can be also defined as the difference between what the consumer pays and what the producer receives for his agricultural produce. Then types of the margins: absolute constant margin, percentage margins. So there are two types of margins: the absolute constant margin, and the last one is the percentage margin. So when we talk about absolute constant margins, of course, nag-express ni siya in term of pesos and the constant overall quantity ranges. So, then ang percentage margins, it is absolute the difference in price. Example, the absolute margin divided by the selling prices. So next is the marketing mix strategy. So when you talk about marketing mix strategy, it is consists of 4 parts: product strategies, pricing strategies, place or distribution strategies, and promotion strategies. Then product. So when talk about product, it is defined as anything offered for sale, attention, and acquisition. And also, ang product, it can be a good or service. Then product can be marketed, include physical good, service, experience, events, persons, places, properties, organizations, and information, and also the ideas. So may tag product man siya ang kanang anything offered for sale, attention, or acquisition. Or ang product, it can be good or service. Next is the brand. So brand. So when talk about brand, it is a name, term, sign, symbol, or combination of term intended to identify the good or services of one seller or group sellers to differentiate from those of competitors. Ang brand, it could be a letter, word, or symbols na magamit to identify product. So next is the brand equity. So when talk about brand equity, it is the added value endowed to products and services. This value may be reflected on how consumers think, feel, and act with respect to the brand, as well as the prices, then market share, and profitability that the brand commands for the firm. Next is the brand awareness. So when you talk about brand awareness, it is the ability to identify the brand other different conditions as reflected by different brand recognition or recall performance. Next is the brand image. So brand image. So brand image is the perception and belief held by consumers as reflected in the associations held in consumers' memory. Next is the packaging. So yung tag packaging, it is the total presentation of the product. Ang packaging manggod, it is the attractive of The attractive of packaging contributes to the movement of the product from the shelves to the hands of the consumers. Because ang packagings, nag-protect ni siya sa goods in the storage and transit. And also, ang packaging, it makes handle convenience, then, and it enhances the products. Next is the label. So when we talk about label, it is part of the package which carries information about the product. And also, ang label nag-shows po niya siya sa brand, then sa manufacturer, expiry date, and the information about the products. Next is the pricing. So pricing, it is considered as the most important function since it is the only function which leads the money flow back to the price. Because ang price, mo na siya ang amount that society pays for a good or service. Next is marketing channels. So yung marketing channels, it refers to the alternative routes by which ang products flow from the procedures to the consumers. Then on the other hand, ang marketing channels, it vary with respect to the type of commodity handled, time, and allocation. Next is the wholesaling. So yung wholesaling, it is concerned with the activities of those persons or establishments which sell to retailers and other merchants and or to industrial, institutional, and commercial users. But ang mga wholesalers, dili ni sila but who do not sell in large amount to final consumers. Next is the retailing. So when we talk about retailing, it includes all the activities involved in selling goods or services directly to final consumers for personal or non-business use. Next is the promotion. So when we talk about promotion, it is the personal and or impersonal process of assisting a prospective customer to buy a commodity or to act favorably upon an idea that has commercial significance to the seller. So, promotional method. So, the advertising, personal selling, sales promotion, publicity. That is the publicity. So, ang advertising, it is refers any paid form of non-personal presentation or promotional the products, a form of mass selling. Then, a personal selling, mana siya ang oral presentation of the product. Then, ang sales promotion are price of bonuses, lotteries, and premium. Then, a publicity, mana ang non-personal form of promotion which aim to attract buyers. By publishing commercial. So, that's all. Thank you.